I met you in the early 80s in London when my parents had moved to London. And then we kept meeting on again, off again. Then you married Nazir Bhai, Nazir Peracha, and you moved to Lahore. Then we came here and we decided to get an apartment and come here in the winters for 3 months from New York. And when I arrived here the first time, I knew a few people, but it was you who kept taking me to all your friends. You had settled by then, and you took me everywhere. And this is something I'll tell you that not people are not very generous about introducing. It's a fact.
Take our friends away.
Yes, exactly. And you should know that you are a psychologist, you are a psychiatrist, you are many things. So you should know the insecurity that people suffer from. But you were more than generous, and really within weeks, I felt so comfortable, and I owe that to you. And and then, of course, when you are a very well-rounded person, some people who are in these kind of professions, they're not that. You entertain beautifully. You mix with people. You become one of the key people in Lahore. Very soon you had to settle down and you had to do all this for yourself. And you did it with so effortlessly, and people really like you because they see in you that you're generous, you are you're forthcoming. These are things that are rare, and these are things that attract people. And but the most important thing, your contribution in Pakistan at a very difficult time, I want to discuss that with you. So let's talk. Yeah.
So there was this insurgency in Sabat by the Talib PTA, and they wanted to instill Sharia law, and then there was the counter-insurgency by Pakistan Army, which was very successful. Hundreds of thousands of people were dislocated from the hills to the flatlands, and the army took control. So it was army rule there for 10 years, which means that it was not civilian rule, it was not the judiciary, it was the army. And when they apprehended these boys, naturally they didn't know should they be put in an internment center or what. So my colleagues and I went up to Malakand, and it was quite scary. The IDPs were moving back, and there was security every 5 yards, literally, on the roads. And so behold, we met these boys who I was apprehensive about meeting, but they were so scared of us that we ended up making them feel better and stayed up all night and then assessed them. And basically, Marina, these boys were not dangerous in themselves, but they could be made to behave in a very dangerous way because they lack critical thinking skills and logical reasoning. Who were they? Most of them were school dropouts, and they had been told all sorts of information which they had not verified, and they believed everything. So if they were told it's written in the Quran that this is an American army, they believed it. And they couldn't reason that there was no America or Pakistan 1400 years ago. So this is the start, and I suggested, and I think that the GOC and General Nadeem that we were in contact with were very open to these suggestions, that these children should not be interned, that we should have a rehabilitation project for them. And that is what we did for 15 years, 16 years. And these children, they were eventually from 13, they were 30.
So
and
the
then
same boys were with you for 16 years?
Not 15 boys, they were 242 boys.
So you worked with them for all those years?
All those years. But as we went along, we reintegrated some. But the method for that was specific to the child, his push and pull factors, his familial factors, the situation in the village, how radicalized his thoughts were. So we did psychological profiling for each and every individual. It was not like a group thing, the year of 2010 or 2011. It was how vulnerable is the child, is that person's mind.
And how were you sure that you were able to de-radicalize them?
Okay, so some of the psychologists who work in this area in social psychology, they say it's changing hearts and minds. But how do you see hearts and minds? You can't see anybody's heart and mind. We try to change their way of thinking for the future, of adopting a new profession, of learning to go to school, college. Today there are lawyers, teachers. Yes, there are farmers, and there are those who don't have a job. But then there are psychologists also, and they're working in KPK. One of them is working in the Attorney General's office, and they're amazing. These children are quite amazing. So I would say, because they were monitored, and I knew they were doing what they were training themselves to do over the years, and we supported them. We said, you can do anything you want to do on merit, and we'll support you. And we did that, Marina. So therefore they went to medical school, law school, whatever they could, do it on merit. And they did us proud.
And how did you deal with their families? Did you meet their families?
Yes, of course. We not only used to meet their families, but social workers used to go to their villages and meet the neighbors, meet the jirga, the elders of the community, to see how they felt. Because you can't integrate a child back into a community where there is a negative feeling towards him. He needs to know that he's accepted, and they were accepted. Because they used to be very proactive doing, when they went home, we taught them to recruit other children to clean the streets, to clean the school, to help the elderly, work in the hospitals. So they became liked by the community rather than offended, as many were. A lot of the soldiers who were giving security were initially quite offended. They said these children wanted to kill us all the time, and here you are looking after them. So we generally did therapy for them also. It was terrible for the soldiers. Everywhere they went, a child would come running out of the bushes and say, "Come now, let me cut your neck." And they were traumatized. They needed help too. And Marina's, whenever there is a crisis in that part of the world, these children help me. Not children, they are young men now.
So you're still in touch with them?
Huh?
You're in touch with the boys?
Yes. Through the social worker. Initially there was this one boy who wouldn't respond to any suggestion, or wouldn't say anything. Very good looking, very handsome. And one day I was walking down the hallway and I heard someone say, "Okay, you know Ronaldo?" And I didn't know Ronaldo, but he did. So I said, "Who is he?" So he told me. He said he's a football player. And he said in his Pashto and Urdu mixture that you get him to talk to me and I will do whatever you say. I said, "I don't promise, but I'll make a try." So they knew about Ronaldo. They probably didn't know who was the Prime Minister of Pakistan, but they knew who Ronaldo was, because they loved sports.
But did you introduce them to sports?
Oh, no.
Or they were already, before you met them?
Football and cricket was their life. So in fact, Sabaun did not have a playground. So I leased the land from the farmer next door, and we started a football field and a cricket field. And that was what made them think that maybe we wanted good for them, because they were happy, they enjoyed themselves, and they were avid players. So you see here, all these children, the dropout rate by secondary school is nearly 70%. So the young boys, adolescents and pre-adolescents, dropping out of school, nobody cares. From in the West or in good schools in Lahore, for example, if a child has a problem, we try and find out what is it. Is it ADD, or is it learning disability of some sort, or organicity, or whatever, and we help that young boy. No one cares for these children who were one of 100 in a classroom. So nothing to do, and loitering around the village square, an SUV pulls up. And they sort of, okay, you want some food, go and get it. I have the gun right now protecting you. They learnt the power of the gun very fast. And next thing they knew, they were on the SUV, and some of the groups looked after the boys very well.
So they had a harsher attitude.
Others had a harder, but many looked after them very well. There was this young boy who was supposed to walk ahead of this commander, so that if there was any danger, he had a vest on, so he could just detonate it. And he knew that could happen to him. So one day there was something else happening. Some other group was acting against another group, and there was mayhem, and he ran away. And he gave himself up. So of course, somebody like that who had given himself up and was not apprehended against his will, I had a better hope for him to rehab, and they did. Okay, so none of them.
But he
was
gave
sent-
up after having spent some
Right,
time with you.
Right. Yeah. No, they had given, when they came to the Sabaun Center, which was a
What you were running, yeah.
rehabilitation center, not an internment center. We generally planned the program for each and every boy, and we did not intern anyone. Though our agreement with the army was that if till the age of 18 we don't feel that the person has changed, then we'll have to intern them. They had internment orders which were kept in abeyance, but we reintegrated them all before they became 18.
And how much time did you actually take?
It took 11 years, 10, 11
11
years.
years.
And the last 3 or 4, I think maybe 4, we transferred to the other Sabaun that had been started by the FC in Peshawar. So they already had a program going.
And you working in Sawat?
We were in Sawat. But we did the capacity building for that program also. So we kept in touch with them, and they eventually rehabilitated them. The media gave it a lot of importance, but because it was important for us, for each one of us, it meant something that we had these young minds vulnerable, and that we could somehow propel them into thinking in a positive direction. It was a high. And
What an achievement.
yeah, what an opportunity, because I don't think many people get that opportunity. I don't think I will, but it meant a lot to me.
When you got it, which is a huge privilege, that the army trusted you.
They
And
trusted us completely, not because we knew them personally at all. I did not.
but they also saw the results.
Yeah,
You have to always see the results
Yeah.
to, understand what's going
they
on.
were right there behind us, but never interfered. Never said, don't integrate this guy or integrate that one. Never. They never interfered at any level from the GOC.
And how many years were you working with these people?
11 years. 12
11 years. I remember, and day in and day out, for you were away, and I remember once you telling me that you need a therapy after you come back, and I can imagine, because dealing with 150, 60 kids.
Changes your lens as you look at the world completely, and you realize that the opportunities that we have is what has made us what we are.
Yeah.
If we did not have those opportunities, God knows what would happen. These kids did not have those opportunities, and when they were given, they lapped it up like anything and did the best. There were many who started to fail, and of course if they failed continuously for 2 years, then I would not pay their dues, college dues. You would have to find a job or look for someone, because otherwise it was expensive. But we had good support, by the way, from international organizations and from the media, international media. Yeah.